Hello, my name is Norman Houghton, and today we will be talking about the dragon language when it comes to Skyrim. So, today I went in and I was trying to research a translation for the Dragonstone tablet in Bleak Falls Barrow. Now, a lot of the people on there, when you go to Reddit or any other of the discussion forums when it comes to Skyrim, have very varied translations for it, ranging everything from "Here lies our fallen lords" until "Alduin returns." However, a lot of the translations that I've seen are focused around just the language and not who would be writing it and why they would be writing it. So if you come up to a word wall, you'll notice that there is dragon script across the entire wall. It is huge weaknesses, like these are the words, right? And when the dragons actually speak with the form, which is the shouts, they're actually able to put the words on a surface just by shouting at it. And so a lot of the dragon rolls, especially the ones that are up in like mountain ranges or valleys, those could very well be created by the dragons themselves by shouting at the walls, saying what they want to say. So when you come across a stone tablet and you look at it, you have to understand that the Dragonstone tablet is only about this big. And when you flip it around, there's an inscription on the back. Okay? There is no dragon that's going to be able to write a script that small. It's not going to happen. Their claws are like this, right? They're huge. These things are the size of a home. So you have to put yourself in the perspective of who would be writing it. A slave would not be writing it. It would most likely be a script for like a dragon priest or someone along that lines where they're not super high up in the dragon cults, but they're not a dragon cultist themselves, right? So these are going to be kind of like the scribes back in Egypt, right? They're not free, but they're not peasants, for lack of better words, right? So whoever wrote the Dragonstone tablet and carved the inscription on the back would have done so at the direction of a dragon priest, right? So whoever wrote it would not write this along the lines of dragon lords. They would have wrote masters instead, right? So when you're reading that first sentence and you're translating it into English so that way we know what it says, it would say, "Here lays our fallen masters." And then the next sentence goes on to state the return of the dragons, how they're going to come back, how they're going to come back from bones into flesh and scales, right? So instead of saying a lot of the different like each word in the dragon tongue has multiple meanings, right? They're not just one word. It's like saying hit, H-E-T. It could be here. It could be present. It could be here lies. Like there's a lot of different ways of putting that. However, almost every single time in which it is referred to is in correlation to describing something, a place. Okay. Now, right here, I have my switch pulled up, right? So we have this stone tablet, right? Now, when you look at that, that's not very big at all. Okay, it's a stone slab. Now, what it goes on to state is that here lies our masters until the power of Alduin returns. So Alduin was like the Grand Master. He was the leader of the dragons. He ruled over the people and the dragons during that time. Okay? So stating that here lies our lords until the return of Alduin, or until Alduin comes back, would not be very accurate translation, whereas Here Lies Our Masters, Until the Power of Alduin Returns, makes a lot more sense, because when you look at the time period, Alduin gets banished via an Elder Scroll, which puts him onto the current of time to return at a later date, which is the Skyrim series, where the last Dragonborn is the main character. That's you're playing as him. So Alduin returns, and he is going around resurrecting these dragon generals, because if you look at the quantity of the marked graves, right, if I flip this around, because this is a map that shows you where the burials are, all right through there, all those little stars. There's only a handful. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, roughly 19. There are not 20 dragons in Skyrim, okay? Because if there was only 20 dragons, you wouldn't be able to fulfill all of your shouts. You wouldn't be able to absorb the power from the dragon and level up your shouts. That wouldn't happen, okay? There are hundreds of dragons all throughout Skyrim, and due to it being a game, they do respawn. So you could go clear out a dragon lair, come back a few weeks later, and there it is again, ready for you to rekill it. So those are actually the dragon generals, right? Those are like Paarthurnax, except for Paarthurnax was, I believe he was a lieutenant, and he ended up betraying Alduin, but we'll get in that in a different video. So when you're going in and you're translating these word walls and these tablets and these artifacts that have the dragon language on there, you have to look at it first, and you have to go, okay, is this something a dragon wrote, or is this something a human wrote? And if it's a human, why did they write this? What was the purpose? Now, once you find the Dragon's Stone, spoilers ahead if you haven't played Skyrim. If you haven't played Skyrim, come on, it's been out for a decade now, so I'm not going to feel too bad about spoilers. The Dragon's Stone you then take to Whiterun to bring to the Jarl's Court Wizard, and Delphine will be there as well. Now, Delphine uses this to lay out on the map of Skyrim where these graves are, and then brings you to Kynesgrove, which is just below Windhelm, to go and battle a dragon that should be the next one to get resurrected, which is what happens when you're there. You see Alduin shout at the grave and bring this dragon back to life. Okay. So that brings into the second sentence. Until the power of Alduin returns. Alduin is the only one who can resurrect these dragons by giving them a part of his own soul. See, when you use the Thu'um, you're using your essence to send out power. Okay? That's why in order to unlock shouts and understand the shouts, you must slay dragons and use their dragon soul to unlock that shout. It's using their understanding of the words, you may use it. Okay? Now, all of this ties into how you go about translating a word wall. If a word wall is in a cave, right, chances are a dragon's not going to be able to get down there. It's not going to be able to go through human-sized doors, okay? The dragon is ginormous. It's not going to just weasel its way on in there like a snake. It's not how it's going to work, alright? So if it's in a cave, chances are not a dragon. A human wrote that. It's on a tablet, right? Something that you can physically hold. Probably not a dragon writing that, probably a human. So when you come across those, you have to start translating and understanding once you've figured out what the words are, because they're always going to be the same words, because each of the individual characters for the dragon language will correspond to a letter, which will bring out a word. Once you get the word, every single word seems to have anywhere from 2 to 3 different meanings, Then you have to go and go, okay, if I was a human writing this, why would I be here during the time of dragons? And what type of role would I probably be playing? Okay. Once you figure those parts out, then you can turn around and go, okay, if I was this person, this is why I would write this. And then you can go and look at the individual words and go, okay, it's probably this meaning and not something else, right? So, for example, the last word in this, on the Dragonstone, the very last word, return, resurrection, revival, all of those are potential meanings for Alduin. Now, looking at the flow of a sentence, right, it's not going to say, until the power of Alduin revives, or resurrects, okay? It is possible, yes, but it's not quite the right feel to it, right? So, Alduin's not dead, okay? He's only been banished through time. They didn't kill him, so he's not going to resurrect, and he's not going to revive. He's going to return from being cast on the flows of time from the Eldership, right? So you're not going to say, okay, he's going to resurrect. He's going to revive. No, he's not dead. If he's not dead, he's not going to resurrect or revive. He's going to return from the flows of time, right? So instead of saying, here lies our masters, right? The bodies of our masters. You're going to say, here lies the bodies of our masters until the power of Alduin returns, right? And the word that I use to translate power, it's used to say power, to reference belonging to, or originating from, okay? So, if you were to look at it, right, and say, okay, well, it could be belonging to, until the power belonging to Alduin returns. Well, when you say that, right, now you're saying it belongs to him, but it might not actually be Alduin. Alduin is prophesized to return and bring back the dragons at the end of time. Okay? So, you're not going to say the power belonging to Alduin. And then, originating from, same theory, right? It's saying, well, it's from him, it's supposed to be his, but it might not be, right? Alduin returns, right? He comes back. You have to fight him. You have to go to Sovngarde to actually fight this guy. So, it's going to be the power of, not belonging to or originating from. It's going to be the power of Alduin returning, because Alduin comes back to fulfill his destiny. Now, granted, the Dragonborn goes, yeah, nope, not gonna happen, we're gonna end you. But even when you manage to defeat Alduin, and you ask around, you speak to Rainfart, the Greybeards, and High Hrothgar, they'll tell you it's very well possible he'll return to fulfill his destiny, because unlike all the other dragons, Alduin is the World Eater. He's supposed to end the world. Okay? So, when you understand that, and you speak to Paarthurnax about it, he'll tell you that the world is like an egg, right? And by defeating Alduin, you've prevented this egg from hatching, and you kept this chicken alive. Right? He doesn't say chicken, but this world alive. Right? You've extended the lifeline for that world at that time. Now, each one of these bits plays into the Dragonstone. Okay? Although that entire questline still applies to this Dragonstone, and you have to understand not only the present, but also the future, because this stone was not made a week before Alduin returned, or even the day after he returned. This was written back in ancient times. This is an ancient script on this thing, which means the Dragon Priest knew Alduin would be returning. It's a prophecy, not just a memorial. It's not just a, hey, here's this, like, ooh, it's our Dragon Masters, they're all dead now. It's not a gravestone. It's literally a prophecy and a map saying, hey, here's where everyone's buried, go get them. Okay? This is where you meet to welcome our masters back. Okay, this would be from the Dragon Cultists. It's found in a burial with an ancient Nord. Okay? Or a Draugr. Now, the Draugr changes. It could be a Death Lord, it could be a lot of different types of Draugr depending on the level in which you're completing that quest. However, it's always Draugr. Okay? Right in front of a word wall. With the stone tablet, okay? All of these things, these three things, imply that whoever this guy was, this no-name dead guy, zombie, brought back to life, had a relation to the Dragon Cultists back when the dragons were in power, back when Alduin was in power. So understanding that, you need to understand that to translate it, you have to keep all of these things in mind, and you have to keep the storyline in mind to truly understand what it means. They're prophesizing his return. When? They don't know. They just know he's coming back, because he can't be killed because he's the world leader. Okay? He's got to come back to fulfill his destiny. That's a part of the quest line, right? That's part of the timeline that Skyrim is a part of. So understanding that, you have to understand the basis of the timeline, just like the Elder Scrolls. They're not present, they're past, present, future. This Dragonstone is from the past, predicting the future. Okay? So it's not going to be a memorial, it's not going to say, hey, this is where our masters lie until Alduin returns. It's, hey, this is where they are when you come back. This is where our masters are when Alduin returns, right? So the Dragon Priests don't expect to be dead. None of them do. Because none of them are. They're all lynches now. And every time you go into a burial, you'll find a Dragon Priest that will right out of its grave and go, haha, we're going to fight you now. Okay? They are preparing for the return of Alduin to claim his kingdom again. Okay? It's a religion, right? So these cultists, dragon cultists, understand that Alduin is the world leader. He brings the world to its end. Okay? He brings that to the closure and brings a new world. Okay? So this Dragonstone is a map, but it's not for Delphine, it's not for the Dragonborn, it's for the Dragon Priests. Okay? As the dragons revive, so do the Dragon Priests. As you go through these burials and whatnot, and you open up these doors that have the Nordic puzzles, which aren't to keep people from going in, it's to keep them coming out. It wants the Dragon Priests to stay where they are. Okay? Now, a lot of people assume that the reason why we have these Dragon Claws to undo the puzzle with the key in your hand to unlock these doors, they assume it would be used by someone like the Dragonborn to go and fight them, but I don't think that's very accurate. I think that it was originally designed for the Dragon Priests and their followers that get passed down through time, because the only ones you find in the burials and the grave chambers are Draugr. They're dead, okay? And in order to create these preserved Draugrs, you would have to do some sort of mummification to preserve them as well as they were. So when you think about it along that lines, right, that tells me that somebody was expecting them to return. Now it's time to get into a bit more theoretical, right? So necromancy is frowned upon. The dragons had it as a forbidden skill. The humans have it as a forbidden art. The elves, everyone's like, necromancy's bad. Okay? There's only one dragon that I know of that you ever come across. Now, granted, this is the Legendary Edition, so it could be non-canon, right? But it is a DLC. So, Odahviing is a dragon who practiced necromancy and bringing undead hordes to life, right? Now, granted, he made a deal with the Ideal Masters and bit off more than is could chew, because the undead masters are not on they're sneaky little bastards. Odahviing being a Dova, Dovas are very prideful and very honorable, even though humans don't like them because they subjugated them and are like, ah, we're your masters, eat this, right? Yeah, no one's gonna like that, okay? So, here's a theory to send you guys on your way. What if Odahviing created all of those dragon priests? He's got the power to do it, to bring liches to life. He's still alive, which means his power would still affect them. What if him and Alduin were working together, even though Odahviing planned on backstabbing Alduin, to create this for when he finally returns from the time stream? Anyways, that's it for this video. I will be doing a series where I actually go in further depth and more organized manner to break down the individual words and meanings and how to translate from beginner to advanced skill of the dragon language. Hope to see you all in the next video. I'm out for now.